So in some ways, the only real question is, what difference does it make taking part in Star Awards? And I have to say that I've just been completely blown away by the impact it has, by the energy and creativity and motivation it has sort of harnessed and sometimes unleashed. Absolutely extraordinary. That really, as long as our funders aren't listening, all we do is put out a few ideas, and the wards, the staff on the wards, just take those ideas and develop them into really extraordinary, brilliant, healing, healthy, human opportunities for our inpatients. It is just staggering and really very uplifting. It's very, very exciting. But basically, we don't come up with new ideas. We collect innovative practice from the wards, and those we share through our newsletters and publications and website and so on. But I think in some ways possibly the most important effect that Star Awards has is that wards, many, perhaps most of our ward members, use taking part in Star Awards as an opportunity to really focus on, to sort of spotlight existing great practice. And I say great practice because I recognise it as great practice, but the interesting thing is that often staff are so used to doing things really well, to a very high, very skilled, very caring standard, and they don't sort of recognise that this is fabulous, this is great practice, and often, in fact, usually I think when wards first join Star Awards, they look at the list of 75 ideas and they say, oh yeah, we're already doing this and we're doing that and we're doing that and we're doing a much better version of that, and it gives a real lift. And then also the wards then use it as a way of, I say, sort of collecting and spotlighting, or even branding or marketing other great practice. So, there are literally hundreds of examples of this fantastic practice in Star Awards 2, the sequel, downloadable from our website. And but just to give a few examples, one of the things that works is just to move things in the ward, put things in different places. So the example I tend to give is an exercise bike. Sometimes it'd be sort of tucked away in a corner and not really used, but if it's placed where patients can cycle and watch telly at the same time, it's going to be much more used. And so with just like a minute's reorganisation, you can greatly increase the amount of physical activity on a ward. Similarly, I don't know, one ward moved the toaster. So rather than it being in the kitchen that the patients couldn't access, suddenly it was out in the ward and patients could make their own toast and each other's toast for breakfast. A small thing, but actually deeply significant to us as patients, because of the whole patient autonomy thing, which is what in some ways we're less well known for, but I'm I suppose fixated about, would be fair, and I suppose it's partly because my condition, borderline personality disorder, unfortunately, is so characterised by a sense of a lack of control of my situation, myself, and so on. So whatever I can be enabled to do on the ward to have some control of what's going on, even if it's as simple as making my own toast in the morning, it helps. And I suppose similarly on the patient autonomy front, we something that we're very, very keen on in Star Awards is patients moving to a position where we're in charge of our medication by the time we leave the ward. Because if, say, we leave the ward at 11:45 on a Wednesday, by 12:15 on a Wednesday, we're going to be home and managing our medication entirely by ourselves. And this may well be medication that's quite complicated to take, some of it with food, some of it without food. We may have quite strong feelings about our illness, about the side effects of the medication and so on, or just like me, just maybe extremely forgetful and chaotic. So it's a bit of a performance taking medication, and much, much better to get into the hang of managing our own medication before we leave the ward. That's the time. Okay, Okay, quickly returning to other examples of things that wards are doing. I suppose the two things that I'm told most often have the biggest impact, but are the most difficult to introduce, other than the whole talking therapies thing, is internet access and pets. If you can get internet access for your patients, you're just going a long way to making their stay much more manageable, for all the obvious reasons of keeping people connected with friends and family and partners. And in fact, interestingly, those who've never been on the internet before, it's a bonus, a real bonus of being an inpatient, especially an involuntary inpatient. If you get to learn to use the internet, it's a fantastic thing. And pets. Now, some may think I'm a little biased because of the whole business with Buddy, my dog. And I am. However, this is a true fact coming up. I was contacted, I don't know, about 2 years ago by a women's secure unit in the north, who told me that since they'd introduced a bunny rabbit on the ward, the incidence of self-harming had fallen by 50%, 50%, half the amount of self-harming. Now, I know from my own struggles with trying not to self-harm on the ward, or actually it's more often trying to self-harm but not being allowed to, and so on, that self-harming is a really complex and fraught issue on wards. So we just take this one example of the benefit of pets. If a bunny rabbit, which costs what, I don't know, $19.99, bit of a hutch, bit of straw, can reduce self-harming by 50%, this is a good thing. I could go on and on, but I'll leave it at that for now, other than just to lob in a few statistics. Now, these are from the survey we've recently carried out with our members, and I think about a third of our members responded. So it's not, we're not claiming that this is the case on all wards, but we are claiming, because it's true, that of the 30% or so of wards that responded, this is the impact that Star Wards is making. Okay, increased activities, 88%. Improved atmosphere, 85%. Increased patient satisfaction, 83%. I'll speed it up a bit. Increased staff-patient contact, 82%. Increased staff time for patient activities, 76%. Improved team working, 74%. Oh, that's quite interesting. So almost 3/4 of those who responded said it actually improved team working. How fab is that? Improved ward environment, 72%. And then here we have the gold standard of inpatient care, rightly or wrongly, levels of violence. Decrease in violence. Of those wards that responded, 63% had reported a decrease in violence through taking part in Star Wards. And, I never even thought about violence, when I set Star Wards up. And I suppose it's a tribute to the energy and the compassion and the creativity of staff, that by really not just engaging with patients, but actually starting to feel better about the superb job that they are doing, which doesn't always get such a great press, completely wrongly, very biased press, but don't get me started on that one. But anyway, by staff feeling energised and good about the work they're doing, not only are there more beneficial activities, more patient autonomy, and in due course, gradually an increase in talking therapies, but there's actually also a decrease in aggression and violence.